Can engineers crack into the high finance world of venture capital? Heck yeah. Today, we're going to hit on why your unique skills and experience as an engineer give you a huge advantage when breaking into the competitive field of VC, and how to leverage those skills and experiences to actually get your foot in the door. Plus, stick around to the end and I'll help you avoid the biggest pitfalls engineers make when trying to break in. So, point one. Why is it that engineers make some of the best VCs? Well, there are lots of amazing VCs out there that were engineers first. People like Mark Andreessen, who built the first web browser and now runs a fund with $28 billion in assets. Or people like Vinod Khosla, who turned a $5 million investment into $7 billion, one of the best performing venture investments of all time, both of whom started their careers as engineers. Okay, so the first thing to understand is that most venture capitalists are investing in technology companies. And the reason for this is because technology scales super quickly, right? And the gross margins, the margin profile and the profitability of technology companies tends to be extremely high. So when you match high profits with high scalability, you get a very fast growing business that can generate a huge return in a relatively short time period. However, that means if you're going to invest in technology, having more understanding of how that technology works can be a huge advantage. So VCs with technical backgrounds, as we call it, can better understand and assess technology products, which is super valuable. Founders are often engineers as well, and they can relate better with others that have similar experience, and they can go a lot deeper in the tech, which is really exciting for them. So as you think about like what are the things you have to do to be a successful VC, one of those is convincing entrepreneurs to jump in the deal with you or give you access. And one of those ways is building a deep relationship with them. And if they have a technical background and you do, you're going to be able to talk at that same level. Okay, so let's talk about how do you actually land that job? Well, in venture capital, getting a job in VC, especially like a partner track or partner position, is all about being the right person at the right time in the right place. Now, it's really hard to optimize for right time unless you decide to raise your own venture fund. But you can work on the two things you can control. You can control being the right person, and you can control, to some extent, being at the right place. Okay, so let's talk about being the right person. A great VC has to be able to do two of the following things really well. They have to be able to raise money from investors, they have to be able to pick great deals, and they have to get access to those companies. Engineers can be awesome at picking great deals by using their technical skills. They can leverage their shared background to convince technical entrepreneurs to partner with them. And lastly, I've seen engineers build robust tech solutions that actually help them drive great deal flow. For example, I have a friend of mine, he built this whole platform that allowed him to ingest tons of data around companies and then pull in, analyze that data, and then create a list of companies that were super attractive based on like growth of employees, amount raised in funding, market size, like web traffic growth, all of those different things. So having a technical background, again, can help you when you're assessing deals and trying to pick really good ones, convincing entrepreneurs that have a technical background why you're a great fit and you can dive deeper and build a deeper relationship with them. And then maybe it might make sense to take some of your technical chops and use them to give you a real advantage on your own business of running a venture fund. Now, the next thing you have to be able to do is you have to be in the right place. So when I say the right place, what I really mean by that is you have to know and be known by the right people in order to land that job in venture. This means finding ways to network with VCs and drive value to them so that when the time is right, you're the right person that they immediately think of when they're hiring. Let's talk about right timing. Now, you can't control timing, right? That's really tough. But you should know when are the right times to land that job. Otherwise, you'll just be sitting around waiting forever. Those times are whenever there's a change in the venture fund. Now, it could be that they raise a new fund or somebody at the fund has left. Those are usually the two optimal times when a venture fund is going to be out hiring. So pay attention. If a fund has just announced the close on a new fund, they now have this big pocket of capital that they can use to hire new employees. And if they've raised more money than they did in their prior fund, they've got more money to put to work, which means they're going to need more help to do that. Another case could be that a partner has retired, and that may have opened up a vacancy in the partnership through which you can get your foot in the door. All right, don't tune out yet, because we're still going to talk about where engineers tend to fail when they're applying for jobs in venture capital and how you can avoid those pitfalls and crush it. Point 4, let's talk about the skills you need to develop. So sales, interpersonal and management skills. Look, engineers just aren't known for having the best social skills. Sorry. But fortunately, that is a skill that you can be learned and developed. So get out there and talk to people. Look for opportunities to work in sales and manage people, right? A lot of people, they work in engineering because they don't want to work in sales. But I'll let you in a little dirty secret. The highest paid people in the world are just salespeople at the end of the day. Think about it. The CEO. What does the CEO do all day long? Well, she goes around and sells people on why they should join the company, why they should invest in her business, and why her vision is the right one for the future, right? Think about people at the top of any organization, right? At the end of the day, they do a lot in sales. So if you want to rise to the top, regardless of what industry it's in, you got to get good at sales. Now, sales does not mean that you have to be a used car salesman. All it means is you have to learn to listen to what people need and figure out ways to provide that as a service, right? The other thing is when you're out networking, what I have found is that if you are humble and eager to just learn from other people, you can actually be an effective networker, even if you're like me and you're kind of an introvert. I don't really love working a room at cocktail parties. That's not me. But what I do love is sitting down one-on-one with individuals and learning from them, asking them questions about their career and their business and how they think about the future. And what I found is when you can have that type of engagement and dialogue, you can build really deep relationships that can be incredibly beneficial for both parties. The other thing you need to be able to build out is your finance skills. You probably haven't spent a lot of time learning about finance and accounting, and that's something you really need to learn. There are lots of good resources on how to learn this stuff, like my channel. You're here, well done. But you need to learn the basics of accounting, valuation, and financial modeling. And there are some great courses out there and affordable ones on platforms like Udemy to help get you started. The last thing that might be worthwhile learning is business strategy. So one of my favorite parts about working in venture capital is the ability to think strategically about businesses, right? Essentially, business strategy is the art of creating a monopoly. I think it's really fun to intellectually think about like, hey, can this company I'm evaluating become a monopoly? Now, there are a lot of different ways in which you can use business strategy to accomplish your goals. Check out some of the books that we've put down below that can help you build out that skill set and start thinking more critically and more strategically about business. Let's pull it home and let's talk about some of the places where engineers fail at venture capital and how you can avoid those pitfalls. Here's one of the things that a lot of people don't really realize. Venture capital is not really a finance game. It's a people game. And engineers sometimes come off as super arrogant or lack the social skills and emotional intelligence to succeed. Look, I get it. To be an engineer and to be a good engineer requires a ton of work and frankly, like a lot of intelligence. So oftentimes that can come off as like, hey, I know better than you, right? Or I know more than you, or I'm smarter than you. And frankly, that's not the best way to build relationships. On the flip side, do what you do best as an engineer, and that is constantly learn and use your resources and skills to help solve problems. That's where you can be super beneficial and helpful. Look, venture capital is super risky. When you're an engineer, it's really nice to be able to write everything down to an equation and get really, really firm data and say like, this is it, and like, we're set. But in venture capital, that's not the case. Oftentimes, you're kind of licking your finger and trying to tell which way the wind is blowing. And it's just challenging, right? You're trying to predict the future, which is inherently hard. But if you have the technical skills, you can actually do some interesting things around predicting that future because you understand what's possible today, where technology trends are going, and what will be possible in the future, and then use that data and that information to make educated bets today on what the future will look like. Focus on investing in areas where your technical skills give you a real advantage. So that might be in things like enterprise software or cybersecurity or infrastructure. At the end of the day, engineers have a huge potential advantage over a finance professional. It's generally easy for an engineer to learn the VC math than it is for a finance person to learn the engineering math. And both can play a meaningful part in being a great VC. So if you're an engineer and you're thinking about venture capital, build out your interpersonal skills, learn more about finance and the venture math, and start thinking strategically about businesses and build out your network. And you will be really well positioned to land an awesome job in venture.